So what if the ultimate metric for a successful life had literally nothing to do with your retirement account or, the square footage of your house?
Right, or even the professional legacy you leave behind.
Exactly. Like, what if the only true measure of a life well lived actually comes down to the exact thought you have in the final 30 seconds before you die?
I mean, it completely upends how we're conditioned to measure our time here, doesn't it?
Oh, for sure.
We naturally gravitate toward tangible, quantifiable metrics. We look at spreadsheets, bank balances, job titles, and we categorize our lives into these buckets of successful or unsuccessful based on what society can physically see.
Yeah, the visible stuff.
Right. But when you reframe the quality of your life around your final state of consciousness, all those external material markers suddenly seem profoundly inadequate.
They really do. And that brings us to what we're doing today. Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are exploring this really fascinating piece by Payson and Terowong. It's called 10 Elements of Quality of Life.
Yeah, the brilliant text.
And at first glance, it masquerades as one of those standard internet-friendly checklists, like how to live well. It starts with incredibly grounded, everyday things, your job, your diet, your budget, but then it takes this sharp, fascinating turn into deep spiritual philosophy.
Our goal today is to really map out the architecture of that transition.
Yeah.
Because Interwong doesn't just, throw 10 random good ideas onto a page. He presents a tightly integrated chronological system.
Right.
He's basically arguing that the work you do on a Tuesday morning and the words you choose to speak to a coworker directly dictate your ability to navigate your final moments of consciousness.
Which is heavy.
It is. It's this biological and spiritual chain reaction that really demands our attention.
Okay, let's unpack this chain reaction. Interon starts us off in the physical, practical baseline of survival. Before we can even, conceptualize spiritual enlightenment, we have to fix our relationship with our paychecks and our nervous system.
Exactly. You can't skip step one.
Right. He argues for being genuinely engaged with your work, constantly developing your output, expanding your cognitive potential. That's points 1 and 2. And then point 3 is reaching a living standard that is self-reliant and free from distress.
And alongside that, in point 7, he emphasizes eating quality food and living in a peaceful, non-chaotic place.
Yeah, I love the house analogy for this. These 4 points are literally like building the foundation and the walls of a house. You can't focus on the roof if you're starving or broke, right?
Absolutely. What's fascinating here is the specific phrasing he uses for financial stability. It's not about accumulating vast wealth or hitting a specific tax bracket.
Right, it's not a Lamborghini.
No, the metric is simply being free from distress. He's targeting the biological reality of chronic stress. Because if you're constantly panicked about rent or debt, your amygdala is firing nonstop.
Yeah, your body is just flooded with cortisol.
Exactly. You're existing in a prolonged state of survival mode. And a brain in survival mode literally cannot allocate resources to higher order philosophical thinking or internal growth.
The stress hormones alone would just cancel out any other self-care you try to do. It reminds me of trying to run a massive, complex software update on a laptop that has a dying battery.
Oh, that's a perfect way to put it.
The system just won't allow it. You have to plug the machine into a stable power source first. And Terowong is basically telling us to secure our baseline power source before we try to download enlightenment.
He is. And that biological reality extends right into how he views our physical environment. He links eating quality food directly with living in a peaceful, non-chaotic place.
Which we often separate, right?
We do.
Yeah.
In modern wellness culture, we often treat health as something you consume. Like you buy the expensive supplements, you eat the organic kale. But Interowong treats your internal biology and your external habitat as one continuous ecosystem.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
If your neighborhood is loud and aggressive, or your home is filled with constant buzzing tension, your nervous system absorbs that chaos. You cannot out-eat a highly stressful environment.
That forces a completely different perspective on the background noise of our lives. Like the daily commute, the news running on the TV in the background, it's all part of the habitat shaping our biology.
Precisely. And this active engagement applies directly to how he views our jobs, too. Work and mental growth aren't viewed as chores.
Right, not just something we endure to get to the weekend.
Exactly. Being happy with your output and pushing your cognitive potential are presented as active drivers of happiness. We often view leisure as the opposite of work, assuming leisure equals happiness.
Yeah, sitting on a couch.
Right. But Interowong taps into the psychological concept of self-efficacy and flow. When you're actively improving your skills, You're generating a profound sense of mastery. You're not a passive consumer of your life. You are the active architect of it.
Okay, so we have our baseline. The nervous system is regulated, we are financially stable enough to avoid chronic panic, and we're engaged in our daily output. But we don't live in isolation.
No, we don't.
We have to walk out the front door and interact with the rest of humanity, which moves us into the social web of the text. Intara Wong focuses on maintaining good relationships with family and friends. That's point 4.
Right.
But then in point 5, he introduces this very specific, elevated concept. Having virtuous friends, the term used is Kalyana Mitra, and balancing that relationship with helping and sharing with others. But wait, I have a question about this.
Sure, go ahead.
If point 4 covers family and friends, why does point 5 specifically mention virtuous friends and sharing? Like, is there really a difference between a regular buddy and a virtuous friend?
Oh, it's a massive difference, and it's a real pivot in the framework. Maintaining good relationships with your siblings or your neighbors is essentially friction reduction.
Okay.
It keeps the peace and stops interpersonal drama from spiking your cortisol. But a Kalyana Mitra, which is a concept deeply rooted in Buddhist philosophy, is a noble or spiritual friend. This isn't the person you grab a coffee with to complain about the weather.
Or vent about your boss.
Exactly. A Kalyana Mitra elevates you to a moral level. They encourage goodness.
So it's the friend who actually holds up a mirror to your character. I imagine a Kalyana Mitra as the friend who calls you out, gently but firmly, when you're acting out of alignment with your own stated values.
They act as a moral anchor. They interrupt your ego. When you're spiraling into selfishness or cynicism, a Kalyana Mitra pulls you back to your higher self.
Wow, okay. So you need the baseline of peace with the general people around you, but you actively need to curate a smaller circle of people who elevate your ethical standards.
Yes, and Intara Wong balances this incoming moral support with outgoing charity, helping others and sharing. Your morality can't be a closed loop where you just sit around feeling righteous.
It has to flow outward through action.
Exactly, which leads directly into point 6, and the most potent tool we have for interacting with this entire social web, our speech.
Yes, the discipline of speech. He places a massive emphasis on linguistic discipline. The text calls for speaking what is wholesome and constructive, avoiding malice, and specifically not finding fault in or blaming others.
It's the ultimate social tool.
But I actually want to push back on that last part, though. Not finding fault sounds incredibly enlightened on paper. But what if someone is genuinely at fault?
That's the big question.
Right. What if a coworker blatantly sabotages a project? Or a family member is acting incredibly toxic? Does a quality life mean just ignoring bad behavior and never holding anyone accountable?
Well, that is the most common modern objection to this philosophy.
Okay.
But we have to separate objective accountability from the psychological indulgence of blame.
Okay, unpack that a bit.
Holding someone accountable is an action. You state the facts, you set a firm boundary, or you enact a consequence like firing the employee or distancing yourself from the toxic family member. Blame, on the other hand, is an emotional narrative.
Ah, I see.
It's the story you spin repeatedly in your head, and to anyone who will listen, about how terrible that person is.
So blame is the gossip. It's the resentment you carry around like a trophy long after the actual event is over.
Yes. And when you carry that resentment, and when you participate in malicious speech or constant fault-finding, you're the one experiencing the physiological effects of anger. Your heart rate elevates, your muscles tense, your stress hormones spike.
Oh, wow. So you're actively destroying that peaceful, non-chaotic environment we established back in point 7.
Exactly. Intara Wong is pointing out a vital mechanism here. By consciously choosing wholesome words and avoiding malice, you actively engineer your external reality. You cannot inhabit a peaceful world if your mouth is constantly manufacturing conflict.
We are the source of our own sirens.
Beautifully put.
We complain about the noise and hostility of the world, but then we sit down at dinner and spend an hour tearing apart a mutual acquaintance, effectively flooding our own homes with chaotic energy.
We sabotage our own baseline.
We really do. So the discipline of speech is the gatekeeper to the next phase of this architecture. And this is where the text pulls us away from the external world entirely.
The big pivot.
Yeah, we transition from how we handle our environment and our relationships to how we handle our own consciousness. This brings us to points 8 and 9. Intara Wong introduces the concept of being the master or the owner of the time in one's own life.
Right.
And he pairs this directly with studying Dhamma, using morality, concentration, and insight meditation as the foundation for living. And here's where it gets really interesting.
It really does.
Point 8, owning your time acts as a bridge. It's the ultimate luxury that allows you to engage in point 9, because without time, you just can't do the inner work.
Exactly. And this is where the text becomes explicitly philosophical. Quality of life is no longer just about comfort. It requires a structured internal practice. In contemporary culture, time wealth is marketed as the ultimate luxury, like the freedom to sit on a beach and do absolute nothing.
Which sounds great, honestly.
It does. But in this framework, claiming ownership of your time is not a call for endless passive leisure. It's a prerequisite for profound self-mastery.
There's such a massive psychological resistance to owning our time in modern society, though. We are steeped in hustle culture, where an empty calendar feels like a moral failing or a loss of status.
Oh, definitely.
We fill every silent moment with scrolling social media or turning on a screen because sitting alone with our own unfiltered thoughts is actually terrifying.
It is terrifying for most people. Intero Wong is demanding we reclaim that time, not to relax, but to do the heaviest lifting of our lives. And the text specifically layers this practice. It's a highly mechanical cognitive progression. First is Sila, which is moral conduct.
Which connects seamlessly to our earlier discussion on speech and relationships.
Exactly, because if you spend your day lying to your clients, cutting corners, and screaming at your spouse, your brain is constantly spinning.
Your cognitive load is just maxed out with guilt and defensiveness and the paranoia of being caught.
Right. Sila is essentially a cognitive load reduction strategy. By living ethically and transparently, you remove the internal agitation that plagues the human mind. Your conscience becomes clear.
So morality isn't just about being a good person for society's sake. It's almost a strictly utilitarian requirement for hacking your own brain's ability to concentrate.
It is entirely utilitarian. Only when that heavy, chaotic agitation is stripped away can you achieve the next stage, which is samadhi. Deep, unbroken concentration. You cannot force a guilt-ridden, frantic mind to focus. Sila paves the neurological road for samadhi.
That makes so much sense.
And once you have cultivated that laser-like focus of samadhi, you deploy it to achieve vipassana, which translates to true insight.
Insight into what, exactly?
Into reality. Vipassana is the process of observing reality exactly as it is, without the distortion of your ego, your desires, or your fears. You begin to see the impermanence of everything.
Right, the attachments.
Yes. You realize that your attachments to your professional status, your wealth, even your physical body, are temporary illusions. You see that the promotion you didn't get isn't a tragic flaw in the universe, it's just a passing event.
That progression is incredible. You regulate your nervous system through your environment. You clear your cognitive load through moral behavior and disciplined speech. You harness your reclaimed time to build massive concentration.
Yeah.
And then you use that concentration to fundamentally alter how you perceive reality. It's literally a full-time job for the soul. And it perfectly sets the stage for the climax of Intero Wong's entire philosophy.
Point 10. Everything we've discussed leads to this singular, inevitable focal point.
Which genuinely surprised me. Think about most Western frameworks for a successful life. They usually end with a gold watch at retirement, leaving behind a strong financial legacy, or, passing away quietly in your sleep after a long life.
It's always an external marker.
Exactly. But Intero Wong bypasses all of those. The ultimate element of a quality life, point 10, is having the ability to control one's final state of mind, or your last thought, to escape the realm of suffering. It's about navigating the exact moment of death with total conscious clarity.
It's intense.
So, what does this all mean for you, the listener, who is probably just trying to get through a stressful afternoon at the office? Like, how do we apply this?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, it forces a radical recontextualization of everything you do today. Point 10 recontextualizes the whole list. This final metric acts as the ultimate stress test for the entire architecture of your life.
How so?
The moment of death is the absolute, terrifying loss of control. Your physical body is breaking down. The world you know is dissolving. If your mind has never been trained, that moment will be characterized by profound terror, grasping, and suffering.
So if you skip building the foundation, the house collapses when the earthquake finally hits.
Exactly. Look backwards through the progression we just discussed. You cannot control your final state of mind if your entire identity is attached to the wealth you're about to lose.
Because you failed the tests of financial detachment we talked about back in point 3.
Right. You cannot find peace in that final 30 seconds if your mind is consumed by bitter grudges and unresolved blame toward your family.
Point 6 comes back to bite you.
It does. And you absolutely cannot guide your consciousness through the terrifying transition of death if you haven't spent years practicing samadhi and vipassana.
Because you haven't trained your mind to concentrate deeply.
Or to see beyond the illusion of the physical self. The sudden dissolution of that self will just be unbearable. Intero Wang is showing us that the quality of your life is ultimately tested by the peace of your mind at its final moment, making this a highly cohesive spiritual roadmap rather than a disjointed list.
It requires you to live every single day in a way that actively prepares you to let go of it gracefully. It exposes just how fragile our usual metrics for success really are. We have covered immense ground today.
We really have.
We started in the dirt, securing our basic survival without falling into the trap of endless financial panic. We looked at how our physical environment and our biological health are intimately connected.
Then we moved outward into the social sphere.
Yeah, discovering how curating virtuous friendships and strictly policing our own speech actively engineers the peace we experience. And from there, we took back ownership of our time.
Using it to clear our cognitive load through morality.
Yeah.
So we could build the concentration necessary to see reality clearly.
And all of that, every single step, every mundane Tuesday, was designed to train the mind for its final, inevitable transition away from suffering.
It's a powerful way to live.
It really is. As you step back into whatever the rest of your day holds, we want to leave you with this thought to mull over.
Yeah, consider this. If the true, ultimate quality of your life is defined by the calmness and clarity of your mind in its final fading moment, how does that reframe the way you react to the minor stressful frustrations you'll face later today?
Does that rude email from a colleague truly deserve to disrupt your peace?
When measured against the final 30 seconds of your life, the minor frustrations of today lose their power entirely.
That is the perfect perspective to carry forward. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. We hope this exploration provided not just food for thought, but a genuinely new lens through which to view your everyday choices. Keep exploring, keep questioning the metrics you've been handed, and keep learning. We will catch you on the next one.